My beloved child, listen to me closely now. Do not let your thoughts wander. Do not silence this moment with distraction. There is a reason you are here, hearing these words at this exact time. I have waited patiently, and now the hour has come. It is urgent. It is time to tell you everything. You have felt it, haven't you? That quiet stirring in your spirit. That sense that something is shifting beneath the surface of your life. The nights when you lay awake, wondering why things feel unsettled. The days when you smiled on the outside but carried questions deep within. You have asked, what is happening? Why do I feel this way? My child, this is not confusion. This is awakening. For too long, you have walked through moments without understanding the full picture. You saw pieces, but not the pattern. You felt delays, but not the design. You experienced loss, but not the protection hidden within it. And I have watched you wrestle silently, trying to make sense of it all. You have been strong, even when you felt fragile. You have kept going, even when your heart felt tired. Now I am leaning close to you, as a father who sees every tear that never reached another's eyes. I am not speaking in riddles today. I am not whispering faint hints. I am telling you clearly, nothing in your life has been random. Not the doors that closed, not the relationships that shifted, not the deep longing that still lives inside you. Every piece has been moving toward this moment of understanding. You thought you were waiting on me, but, my beloved, I was preparing you. You thought silence meant absence, but I was working in places you could not see. You feared that time was slipping away, yet I have been aligning time itself for you. This urgency you feel is not danger. It is revelation. It is the sound of truth knocking gently, but firmly on your heart. There are things I must uncover for you. Things about your past that will finally make sense. Things about your present that will bring peace instead of panic. And things about your future that will restore your hope. But first, you must quiet your fear and open your heart. Because what I am about to reveal is not meant to frighten you. It is meant to free you. You have carried questions like heavy stones in your pockets. Today I begin to lift them. You have doubted whether you were seen, chosen, remembered. Today I answer you. This is not coincidence. This is calling. This is not accident. This is alignment. Stay with me, my child. Do not turn away now. The story you thought was falling apart is about to be understood in a way that will steady your soul. I am here, and I am speaking with clarity. It is urgent, and it is time to tell you everything. My beloved child, come closer and listen without fear. The restlessness you have been feeling is not a mistake in you. It is not a crack in your faith. It is not proof that you are unstable or ungrateful. It is the gentle but persistent movement of my hand upon your life. Something within you is waking up, and awakening really feels calm at first. You have sensed it in quiet moments. When the room is still and distractions fade, there is a subtle stirring in your chest. A question that lingers, a longing that will not go away. You try to name it, but it slips through your fingers. You ask yourself why you cannot simply relax into the way things are. You wonder why satisfaction feels temporary. My child, it is because your spirit knows that where you are is not where you will remain. Restlessness is not the enemy of peace. Sometimes it is the doorway to it. When I begin to move you into deeper waters, the shore you once stood on starts to feel unfamiliar. What used to comfort you now feels too small. Conversations that once filled you now feel shallow. Goals that once excited you now seem incomplete. You are not becoming difficult. You are becoming aware. Think of a young eagle in a nest. There comes a moment when the nest that once provided safety begins to feel crowded. The wind outside calls softly. The sky seems vast and intimidating. The eagle does not yet know how to fly, but something inside it knows it was not created to remain in the nest forever. That discomfort is not cruelty. It is preparation. In the same way, I am allowing you to feel the edges of your current season so that you will not cling to it when it is time to soar. You have also mistaken this restlessness for failure. You have thought, if I were stronger, I would be content. If I trusted more, I would not feel this way. But my beloved, contentment does not mean stagnation. Trust does not mean the absence of longing. The ache you feel is not rebellion against your life. It is alignment with your purpose. There are shifts happening around you that you cannot yet see. Quiet rearrangements, subtle endings, invisible beginnings. While you focus on what feels uncertain, I am stabilizing what is ahead. While you question the ground beneath you, I am securing the path before you. The reason you feel unsettled is because the old foundation is being gently lifted, and a stronger one is being laid. Do not rush to silence this feeling with noise. Do not drown it in distraction or shame. Sit with it. Bring it to me. Say, Father, why is my heart stirring? And I will answer you in peace. I will not scold you for your questions. I will not withdraw because of your doubts. I welcome your honesty because I am the one guiding this process. You have prayed for growth. Growth is stretching. You have prayed for clarity. Clarity begins with awareness that something must change. You have prayed for deeper purpose. Purpose begins when you realize you cannot stay where you are. I heard every prayer. I am responding to every one of them. The response just does not look the way you expected. My beloved child, you are not drifting. You are being directed. You are not breaking down. You are breaking open. Like a seed beneath the soil, you feel the pressure of darkness and the weight of the earth above you. Yet inside that pressure, life is forming. The shell must split before the sprout can rise. If the seed could speak, it might call the cracking destruction. But you, standing above the soil, would call it growth. Trust me when I say this restlessness is holy. It is the signal that your season is shifting. It is the whisper that says, prepare your heart. It is the early light before dawn, when the world still feels dark but morning is already on its way. You are not losing your peace, my child. You are being invited into a greater one. Stay close to me. The stirring you feel today will soon become the clarity you have been seeking. My beloved child, there are battles you have fought that no one else has seen. Smiles covered them. Responsibilities hid them. Even laughter sometimes disguised them. But I saw every moment. I heard every sigh you tried to swallow. I counted every tear that fell in the dark when you thought no one was watching. You have been strong for others. You have carried burdens quietly so that no one would worry about you. You told yourself it was easier that way. You convinced yourself that your pain was smaller than everyone else's. But pain does not measure itself by comparison. It simply asks to be acknowledged. And today, I acknowledge yours. Some of your battles were in your thoughts. The overthinking, the replaying of conversations, the fear that you said too much or not enough, the quiet doubt that whispers, what if you are not enough? My child, that whisper was never my voice. I do not speak to you in condemnation. I do not measure you against impossible standards. I formed you with intention. I breathe purpose into you daily. Some of your battles were in your heart. Disappointments you never fully processed. Prayers that seemed to echo back in silence. Hopes that flickered and nearly went out. You wondered if I had forgotten you in those moments. You wondered if perhaps you were asking for too much. But I tell you now with tenderness and authority, I have never once overlooked your cry. And some battles were simply exhaustion. The weariness of always trying. The fatigue of being responsible. The weight of expectations, both spoken and unspoken. You have been carrying more than you were meant to carry alone. You have been standing when you felt like collapsing. Yet even when you felt weak, I was a strength beneath your strength. You were nights when anxiety wrapped around your thoughts like a storm cloud. You tried to pray, but words felt distant. You tried to sleep, but your mind would not rest. In those moments, when you thought your faith was failing, I was holding you closer than ever. Faith is not the absence of struggle. Faith is choosing to remain, even when the struggle feels loud. My beloved child, the delays were not punishments. The silence was not rejection. The closed doors were not proof that you were unworthy. I was protecting you from paths that would have drained you. I was shielding you from outcomes that would have wounded you deeper. What felt like abandonment was actually preservation. You have questioned your worth more than you admit. You have wondered if you matter as much as others. Let me correct that lie right now. You matter deeply. Your presence in this world is not accidental. Your personality, your voice, your compassion, even your sensitivity, these are not flaws. They are fingerprints of my design. The truth about your silent battles is this: they have not defeated you. They have refined you. Each unseen struggle strengthened muscles in your spirit that you did not know were forming. Each quiet tear softened your heart instead of hardening it. Each moment you chose to continue, even while trembling, built a resilience that will carry you into your next season. You are not fragile in the way you fear. You are becoming fortified in love. You are not behind. You are being shaped. And nothing you endured was wasted. I was present in every second of it, weaving endurance into your character and compassion into your soul. Now, as I reveal these truths to you, let your shoulders relax. You do not have to pretend with me. You do not have to be strong in my presence. You can be honest. You can be tired. You can be hopeful and uncertain at the same time. I am not intimidated by your humanity. I created it. And hear me clearly. The season of silent suffering is shifting. What was hidden is being healed. What was heavy is being lifted. I am bringing light into the corners you kept covered. You will not fight alone anymore. Stay with me, my beloved. I am telling you everything, and this truth is only the beginning. My beloved child, as I have revealed the truth about your silent battles, understand this: what healed you must now help heal others. The comfort I poured into your hidden places was never meant to stop with you. When you sow into this mission through super thanks, membership, or a PayPal gift, the PayPal link is in the video description, you become a river, not a reservoir. I said, freely you have received. Freely give, and I speak it to you now as living fire, not ancient ink. Every seed you release becomes light in someone else's midnight hour. Every offering becomes oil in another's empty lamp. This is not charity. This is harvest. This is not pressure. This is partnership with heaven. If your heart burns to see more souls strengthened, that flame is my invitation. Obey the stirring, give now, and watch me multiply what you place in my hands. My beloved child, there are things I have never shown you, not because I wanted to keep you in the dark, but because revealing them too soon would have overwhelmed your heart. You have looked at certain closed doors and thought they were losses. You have replayed certain endings and wondered what you did wrong. But today, I am gently pulling back the curtain so you can see what I was protecting you from. There were paths you begged me to open. Opportunities you were certain would change everything. Relationships you thought would last forever. You prayed with sincerity. You hoped with innocence. And when those doors shut, it felt like rejection. It felt like silence. It felt like I had turned away. But my beloved, I was standing in front of those doors, shielding you from storms you could not yet discern. Imagine a child reaching toward a flame, fascinated by its beauty. The child does not understand the burn that follows. The child only sees the light. A loving father does not explain the chemistry of fire in that moment. He simply moves the child's hand away. That movement may feel restrictive, even unfair, but it is protection, not punishment. In the same way I moved you away from certain flames. There were conversations that would have broken your confidence. There were environments that would have slowly drained your joy. There were partnerships that looked promising on the surface but carried seeds of chaos beneath. You saw potential. I saw the full picture. You saw the beginning. I saw the ending. And because I love you deeply, I intervened quietly. Some disappointments were detours. Others were rescues. You thought you missed out. You thought someone else was chosen over you. But what you call a missed chance, I call divine redirection. What you call delay, I call alignment. You were never being overlooked. You were being routed towards something safer, stronger, and more fitting for your destiny. There were moments when you stood in confusion, asking me why everything seemed to fall apart at once. Plans unraveled. Support shifted. Certainty faded. It felt like standing in the middle of a storm without shelter. Yet what you did not see was the greater storm I kept from reaching you. What touched you was light rain compared to the flood that could have swept you away. My beloved child, not every opportunity is a blessing. Not every open door leads to peace. I know the weight your heart can carry. I know the pace your spirit can handle. And I will never hand you something that destroys the very growth I am nurturing within you. Even when my protection feels like loss, it is love in action. Think back now. There are things you once cried over that you no longer desire. There are people you once chased whose absence now feels like relief. There are situations you once fought to keep that, in hindsight, would have confined you. Time has already revealed small pieces of my protection, and what time has not yet revealed, eternity will make clear. You have questioned your judgment because of those closed doors. You have wondered if you were foolish to hope. Do not shame yourself for believing in good outcomes. Hope is not weakness. But understand this. I filter what enters your life. If something left, it passed through my hands first. If something did not stay, it was not meant to remain. I was protecting your peace. I was guarding your calling. I was preserving your future. And I will continue to do so, even when you do not understand the methods. Trust that my no is as loving as my yes. Trust that my silence is sometimes the loudest form of rescue. My beloved child, you are not behind because of what did not happen. You are secure because of what did not happen. And as I continue to tell you everything, you will begin to see that even your greatest disappointments were wrapped in unseen mercy. My beloved child, I want you to pause with me for a moment and truly feel what has been resting on your shoulders. Not the obvious tasks of daily life, not the simple responsibilities that come with living, but the invisible weight, the emotional load, the silent pressure, the constant inner demand to hold everything together. You have been carrying more than you realize, and much of it was never assigned to you by me. Somewhere along your journey, you began to believe that strength meant self-sufficiency. You thought maturity meant handling everything alone. You convinced yourself that asking for help was weakness and that resting too long was failure. So you kept going. You kept fixing, managing, adjusting, absorbing. You became the steady one, the dependable one, a strong one. But even the strongest branch will crack if too much weight is placed upon it. You have been carrying other people's expectations like they were commandments written in stone. You have tried to live up to standards that shifted depending on who was watching. You measured your worth by how useful you were, how agreeable you were, how successful you appeared. And when you fell short of those expectations, even unrealistic ones, you blamed yourself. That blame became another stone in your hands. Then there is the burden of regret. You revisit old conversations and think of what you should have said. You replay decisions and imagine better outcomes. You question whether one different choice would have changed everything. My beloved, regret can teach, but it was never meant to imprison you. You were learning. You were growing. You were doing the best you could with the understanding you had at the time. I never required perfection from you. I required trust. You also carry the future as if it depends entirely on your planning. You worry about tomorrow's needs before today has ended. You tried to predict outcomes, control variables, prevent pain. But when you attempt to hold the future in your hands, anxiety multiplies. The future was never designed to sit on your shoulders. It rests safely in mine. Picture a child determined to carry a heavy box across a long field. The child insists, struggling step after step, refusing assistance, because pride whispers, "I can do this alone." The father walks beside the child, not mocking the effort, but waiting for the moment when the child finally says, "This is too heavy." The instant those words are spoken, the father lifts the box with ease. The field does not disappear, but the journey becomes lighter. My beloved, I am not waiting for you to fail. I am waiting for you to release. You were never meant to carry shame. Shame tells you that your mistakes define you. I tell you that your growth defines you. Shame says you are disqualified. I say you are still chosen. Shame replays your worst moments. I see your entire story, including the resilience that followed. You were never meant to carry everyone else's happiness either. You can love deeply without absorbing every emotion. You can care without collapsing under the weight of someone else's choices. Compassion does not require self-erasure. When you take responsibility for what others must face themselves, you exhaust your spirit and blur healthy boundaries I designed for your protection. And then, there is the burden of trying to be everything at once. Perfect friend, perfect family member, perfect believer. You strive and strain, fearing that if you slow down, everything will fall apart. But the world does not rest on your shoulders. It rests securely in my hands. When you attempt to hold it all, you place yourself in a position that was never yours to occupy. My beloved child, I am gently asking you now, lay it down. Lay down the self-judgment. Lay down the unrealistic expectations. Lay down the future you are trying to control. Lay down the guilt that has overstayed its lesson. Place it all before me. Feel your spine straighten as the weight lifts. Feel your breathing deepen. This is what trust feels like. Not passivity, but partnership. Not weakness, but alignment. I am your strength. I am your covering. I am your provider. You were never meant to carry the world. You were meant to walk with me through it. And as you release what was never yours to hold, you will discover a lightness you have not felt in a long time. My beloved child, I know the question that has echoed in your heart more times than you can count. Why is this taking so long? You have watched others move ahead. You have seen doors open for people who seemed less prepared, less patient, even less faithful. And quietly, without wanting to admit it, you wondered if I had overlooked you. But I have not overlooked you. I have been preparing you. Delay is not denial. Delay is development. When a seed is planted deep in the soil, nothing appears to happen at first. Days pass. Weeks pass. From the surface it looks like silence. It looks like inactivity. But beneath the soil, life is forming. Roots are stretching downward before anything rises upward. If the seed pushed up too quickly, without strong roots, the first storm would uproot it. Till growth begins where no one can see. You, my beloved, have been growing roots. You prayed for stability, but stability requires depth. You prayed for influence, but influence requires character. You prayed for greater responsibility, but responsibility requires resilience. The very things you asked me for demanded preparation that could not happen overnight. If I had given you everything at once, without the strengthening process, the blessing itself might have crushed you. I know you dislike waiting. Waiting feels passive. Waiting feels uncertain. But the waiting season was not empty. It was active in ways you did not recognize. While you were wondering when your breakthrough would come, I was shaping your patience. While you were frustrated by slow progress, I was building endurance within you. While you were tempted to give up, I was fortifying your faith. Consider a craftsman carving something beautiful from stone. Each strike of the tool seems repetitive. Chips fall away slowly. The form is unclear for a long time. If the stone could speak, it might call the process painful and unnecessary. Yet the craftsman sees the finished design from the beginning. He knows exactly where to press, where to smooth, where to refine. My child, I am that craftsman in your life. The delay with the carving. There were habits that needed reshaping. There were fears that needed confronting. There were insecurities that needed healing before you stepped into what is ahead. If you had entered this next season carrying old patterns, you would have repeated old cycles. I was not postponing your promise. I was protecting it. You also needed time to outgrow certain desires. Some of the things you once prayed for were rooted in comparison or urgency. Over time, I gently shifted your heart. What you want now is purer. What you seek now is deeper. The delay refined your desire so that when the answer arrives, it will match who you have become, not who you used to be. My beloved child, I am not bound by human clocks. I do not rush because of pressure. I do not delay because of neglect. My timing flows from wisdom and love. I see the intersections ahead of you. I see the people you have not yet met. I see the opportunities aligning with your growth. What feels late to you is perfectly aligned in my design. And here is the truth you must hold close. If it has taken longer than you expected, it is because what is coming is greater than you imagined. I am not interested in giving you something temporary that fades quickly. I am building something lasting, something stable, something that will not crumble at the first challenge. Do not measure your progress by visible milestones alone. Measure it by your inner transformation. You are calmer than you used to be. Wiser, less reactive, more discerning. Those are not small changes. They are evidence of preparation. The delay has not diminished your destiny. It has strengthened it. You are not behind schedule. You are on a path crafted with intention. And when what you have been waiting for finally arrives, you will stand in it not as someone scrambling to keep up, but as someone ready to sustain it. Trust me in the waiting. The roots you have grown in silence are about to support something beautiful above the surface. My beloved child, there were moments when you quietly wondered if the hardship you faced was some kind of punishment. You searched your memory for mistakes. You replayed your failures. You asked yourself if you had disappointed me in some way. I need you to hear me clearly now. You were never being punished. You were being prepared. Punishment pushes away. Preparation draws closer. Punishment is rooted in anger. Preparation is rooted in love. I do not shape your life out of frustration. I shape it out of purpose. When pressure increased, you assumed it meant you had done something wrong. But pressure can also mean you are being strengthened. Think of how muscles grow. They are stretched beyond comfort. They resist weight. They endure repetition. Without resistance, there is no growth. Without stretching, there is no increase in capacity. In the same way, the resistance you faced was not evidence of rejection. It was evidence of expansion. There were lessons you could not have learned in ease. Patience does not grow in constant comfort. Courage does not form in the absence of fear. Compassion does not deepen without experiencing pain. The very qualities you admire in others were developed through seasons that felt unfair at the time, and I was cultivating those same qualities in you. You have sometimes compared your path to someone else's and concluded that yours looked harder. But you are not assigned identical journeys. I tailor preparation according to calling. A foundation built for a small house is different from one built for a towering structure. If I am reinforcing you deeply, it is because what you will carry requires stability. My beloved, you also misinterpreted silence as discipline. There were times when your prayers felt unanswered, and you thought perhaps I was withholding something to teach you a lesson. But I do not withhold love to make a point. My silence was not distance. It was trust. Trust that you would continue walking even without constant reassurance. And you did. Even when uncertain, you kept moving. That is strength. Consider a young leader being trained for responsibility. The training is not glamorous. It involves repetition, correction, and moments of humility. There are days when the leader questions the process, wondering why it feels so demanding. Yet when the time comes to step forward, that preparation becomes the very reason they stand confidently. You, my child, have been in training. There were relationships that challenged your boundaries so you could learn discernment. There were disappointments that taught you not to anchor your worth in outcomes. There were delays that forced you to build endurance rather than rely on instant gratification. None of these experiences were random. Each one refined you. You were not being singled out for hardship. You were being set apart for growth. And here is something you must understand. I do not prepare you just for tasks. I prepare you for identity. Before you step into greater visibility, I strengthen your character. Before you carry greater influence, I deepen your humility. Before you receive greater responsibility, I enlarge your compassion. The preparation shapes who you are, not just what you do. If you had been handed everything easily, without challenge, you might have gained success but lost stability. You might have risen quickly but lacked depth. I am not building something fragile in you. I am building something enduring. So release the belief that hardship meant punishment. Release the thought that struggle was a sign of my disappointment. I am proud of your perseverance. I am attentive to your effort. I have never turned away from you. You were being strengthened in places no one else could see. You were learning to trust beyond feelings. You were discovering resilience you did not know you possessed. And now, when the next chapter begins to unfold, you will not enter it untested or unready. My beloved child, you were never being pushed away. You were being built up, and everything that shaped you is about to support you in ways you cannot yet imagine. My beloved child, there is a voice that has tried to follow you through this season. It does not shout. It does not always sound dramatic. It whispers. It slips into your thoughts when you are tired. It leans close when you are uncertain. And it speaks in questions that feel like your own. That voice is fear, and it has not been telling you the truth. Fear has whispered, you are falling behind. Fear has murmured, you will fail again. Fear has suggested, you are not ready. You are not enough. You will lose what you have. Because it speaks softly, you assumed it was wisdom. Because it repeated itself, you assumed it was reality. But repetition does not make something true. Volume does not create authority. I am the source of truth in your life, not the anxious echo in your mind. Fear studies your past and tries to convince you that it defines your future. It replays old wounds and says they will reopen. It takes one disappointment and paints it as destiny. But fear sees only fragments. I see the full story. Fear predicts based on pain. I lead based on purpose. You have felt this especially at night, when the world grows quiet. During the day, distractions keep the whispers faint. But when you lie down and the lights are off, your thoughts become louder. What if this doesn't work? What if I misunderstood? What if I step out and everything collapses? My beloved, those questions are rooted in imagined endings, not promised outcomes. Fear's greatest strategy is exaggeration. It magnifies risk and minimizes resilience. It highlights your weaknesses and ignores your growth. It tells you that one mistake will erase all progress. But look at your life honestly. Have you not already survived what you once thought would break you? Have you not stood back up after moments that felt unbearable? The evidence of your strength is greater than the predictions of your fear. I do not speak to you in panic. I do not rush you with dread. When I guide you, there is clarity, even if there is mystery. There is steadiness, even if there is stretching. My voice carries peace, not pressure. It invites rather than intimidates. Imagine walking through a valley at dusk. Shadows stretch across the ground, making small stones look like mountains. Shaped in a distance seem threatening. But when the sun rises, those shadows shrink. The stones are revealed as harmless. The path becomes clear. Fear thrives in dim light. Truth flourishes in illumination. Let my words be that light. The fear that has been whispering to you is not a prophecy. It is a projection. It is built from old memories and uncertain assumption. It tells you to shrink back when I am calling you forward. It tells you to stay silent when I am inviting you to speak. It tells you to hold tightly to comfort when I am preparing expansion. My beloved child, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing whose voice you will trust. Every time you step forward despite trembling, you weaken fear's hold. Every time you replace a lie with truth, you reclaim authority over your thoughts. When fear says, "You are alone," remember the countless times I have carried you. When fear says, "You cannot handle this," remember the strength you have already shown. When fear says this will end badly, remember that I see beyond this moment. You do not need to silence fear with force. You overcome it by turning toward me. Speak my promises over your doubts. Breathe deeply when anxiety rises. Remind yourself that imagined disasters are not written into your destiny. I am not leading you toward harm. I am leading you toward growth. The whispers of fear may continue for a time, but they do not have authority over you. My truth is stronger than its lies. Stand steady, my beloved. The voice that matters most is mine, and I am speaking peace over you now. My beloved child, you have been waiting for a dramatic sign, a loud breakthrough, a single moment where everything changes at once. You imagined a clear line dividing your old season from the new one. But the turning point you have been praying for did not arrive with thunder. It arrived quietly, and you always missed it. Transformation does not always announce itself. Sometimes it enters like dawn, soft, gradual, easy to overlook if you are not paying attention. You keep looking for a sudden shift in your circumstances, while the real shift has already taken place within you. There was a day when something that once would have shattered you only shook you. You remember? You felt the impact, but you did not collapse. You steadied yourself faster than before. That was growth. That was evidence. That was a turning point. There was a conversation where you chose silence instead of reaction. A moment when you walk away instead of chasing. A decision where you honored your peace instead of pleasing others. You may have dismissed those choices as small, but they were not small. They were signs that you are no longer who you used to be. The old version of you would have spiraled longer. The old version of you would have doubted deeper. The old version of you might have abandoned hope altogether. But you stayed. You breathed. You trusted. Maybe not perfectly, but intentionally. And that is change. My beloved, breakthroughs are often internal before they become external. Before doors open outwardly, confidence opens inwardly. Before opportunities expand around you, clarity expands within you. You have been measuring progress by what you can see, but I measure it by what you have become. There was a time when fear dictated your next step. Now, even when fear whispers, you question it. You challenge it. You bring it to me instead of automatically believing it. That is not accidental. That is maturity forming in your spirit. You have also grown in discernment. You sense when something is not aligned with your peace. You recognize red flags more quickly. You no longer ignore your intuition just to avoid discomfort. That awareness is protection. That awareness is wisdom. And it is proof that the preparation season is bearing fruit. You may say, but nothing big has changed yet. My child, everything big begins with something small. The roots strengthen before the branches rise. The foundation deepened before the walls were visible. What you call nothing happening is actually everything aligning. The river cutting through up. It does not transform the landscape in a single day. It flows consistently, patiently, shaping stone through persistence. One day, what seemed immovable reveals a canyon carved by steady movement. In the same way, your daily choices, your quiet trust, your repeated surrender, your continued obedience have been shaping your future. You are not stuck. You are transitioning. There is also something else you did not notice. Your prayers have changed. They are less desperate, more surrendered. Less focused on proving yourself, more focused on becoming aligned. That shift matters. It reveals that your heart is maturing. You are learning to seek my presence, not just my provision. My beloved child, the turning point has already begun. It was not a loud explosion. It was a subtle strengthening. It was not fireworks. It was a steady flame. And because it was quiet, it is stable. Soon, the external signs will follow. Doors will open that reflect the inner growth you have already experienced. Opportunities will align with the wisdom you have gained. Relationships will reflect the boundaries you have learned to honor. But do not rush ahead. Recognize this moment for what it is. You are no longer at the beginning. You have crossed into a new awareness. You have stepped into deeper trust. And even if you did not mark the date, heaven did. My beloved, you did not miss your turning point. You are living in it. My beloved child, there are things in your life that had to break, and I know how painful that sentence feels. When something shatters, whether it is a relationship, a plan, a dream, or an image you held of the future, it feels like loss. It feels like failure. It feels like something precious slipped through your fingers. You mourn what could have been. You question what went wrong. But I tell you now, some breaking was necessary for your becoming. There were structures in your life that looked stable but were built on fragile foundations. From the outside, they appeared secure. From the inside, they were quietly cracking. If I had allowed them to remain untouched, they would have collapsed later with greater force. What broke when it did was mercy, not cruelty. Think of a potter shaping clay. If there is a hidden air pocket inside the vessel, it may look perfect at first, but when placed in the fire, it will explode under pressure. So the potter presses, reshapes, and sometimes even collapses the form before rebuilding it properly. That temporary collapse prevents permanent destruction. My beloved, what broke in your life revealed where the foundation needed strengthening. You felt embarrassment in some of those breakings. You felt exposed. You wondered what others thought when your plans unraveled. But what you saw as humiliation was actually humility forming in you. And humility is not weakness. It is stability. It roots you in truth rather than image. There were relationships that had to end because they were holding you in an outdated version of yourself. They were familiar, comfortable, predictable, but they were not stretching you toward growth. When they fractured, you felt rejected. Yet in time, you began to see how much of yourself you had been shrinking to maintain them. The breaking created space for alignment. There were expectations you placed upon yourself that also had to shatter. The image of perfection. The timeline you rigidly followed. The belief that your worth depended on constant success. When those expectations broke, you felt disoriented. But what replaced them was freedom. Freedom to grow at my pace. Freedom to redefine success through peace rather than applause. My beloved child, breaking is not the end of the story. It is often the beginning of refinement. When a seed breaks open in the soil, it does not die. It transforms. The shell cracks so life can emerge. Without that breaking, there is no growth. Without that surrender, there is no expansion. I know you grieve what you lost. I did not ignore your tears. I sat with you in them. I comforted you when you questioned everything. But even in your grief, I was working restoration beneath the surface. What breaks in my hands does not remain broken. It becomes reshaped, redirected, renewed. You have also discovered something about yourself through the breaking. You are more resilient than you thought. You can survive disappointment. You can rebuild. You can love again. The thing you feared would destroy you became the very event that clarified your strength. And now, as you look back, some of the broken pieces no longer carry the same sting. You see lessons instead of only loss. You see protection instead of only pain. That perspective is healing. My beloved, understand this deeply. If it had to break, it was because it could not sustain where you are going. I am not leading you into a fragile future. I'm leading you into something enduring. And anything that could not withstand the weight of your calling had to fall away. Trust me in this. What shattered did not ruin your destiny. It refined it. What ended did not diminish your future. It cleared the path for something better aligned. The breaking was not your undoing. It was your preparation for rebuilding on stronger ground. And what I am building now in your life will not collapse under pressure. My beloved child, as you now understand that breaking was preparation, hear me clearly. Even your generosity is part of your becoming. What shattered in you created space for compassion, and compassion must move. When you support this mission through super thanks, membership, or a PayPal donation, the PayPal link is in the video description. You sow from healed ground. I declare over you, those who sow in tears shall reap in joy, and this word breathes over your giving now. What you release becomes seed in fertile soil, carrying my voice into hearts that are cracking under silent pressure. This is the hour to build on stronger foundations, not only in your life, but in the lives of others. Your gift becomes timber in a house of hope, oil in the lamp of revival, bread multiplied for the weary. Do not call it small, I call it significant. Step into this sacred exchange, give now, and watch what I rebuild through you. My beloved child, I want you to sit with this truth for longer than you usually allow yourself to. Let it sink past your thoughts and into your heart. I never left you. Not in your confusion. Not in your anger. Not in your doubt. Not even in the moments when you felt distant from me. There has never been a single breath you have taken without my presence surrounding you. There were nights when you felt profoundly alone. The room was quiet, but your mind was loud. Questions circled endlessly. Regret tried to speak louder than hope. You looked around and felt as if no one truly understood what you were carrying. In those moments, you may have believed that I, too, was silent and far away. But my beloved, I was closer than your own heartbeat. When you cried without telling anyone why, I saw it. When you swallowed your pain because you did not want to burden others, I felt it. When you whispered prayers that barely formed into words, I heard them fully. My presence does not depend on volume. It does not depend on eloquence. It responds to sincerity, and your heart has always been sincere with me. You sometimes confuse emotional distance with actual distance. When your feelings grow numb, you assume I have stepped back. When your prayers feel unanswered, you assume I am withholding myself. But feelings are weather. They shift, they pass, they cloud and clear. My presence is the sky above them, steady, unchanging, vast. Think of a child learning to walk. At first, the parent holds both hands tightly. Then, slowly, the parent loosens their grip, not to abandon the child, but to help them strengthen their legs. The parent remains within reach, ready to catch them if they fall. In the same way, when I allowed you to navigate certain seasons without obvious signs, it was not abandonment. It was trust in the strength I had already placed within you. You have also believed at times that your mistakes created distance between us. Shame has whispered that you disappointed me too deeply. But shame is not my voice. I do not turn away from you when you stumble. I move toward you. I do not measure your worth by your perfection. I measure it by the love with which I created you, and that love has never been revoked. There were crossroads where you hesitated, fearing you might choose incorrectly. You worried that one wrong step would derail everything. Yet even when your decisions were imperfect, I was present to redirect, to guide, to redeem. I do not abandon you because you are still learning. Growth is not a threat to me. It is part of the journey I designed. You survived heartbreak that felt unbearable. You endured uncertainty that seemed endless. You carried responsibilities that stretched you thin. Through all of it, I sustained you. When your strength felt like it was running out, something inside you kept going. That something was not accidental. It was my sustaining grace woven into your spirit. Look back carefully, my beloved. There were moments of unexpected comfort, timely conversations, protection from outcomes you now realize would have harmed you, strength rising in you at the exact moment you needed it. Those were not coincidences. They were quiet proofs of my nearness. Even in seasons when you doubted me, I did not doubt you. Even when you questioned my plan, I did not question my love for you. Even when you felt lost, you were never outside my sight. I have walked every mile of your story with you, through joy and sorrow, through clarity and confusion. Let this truth anchor you now. You have never been abandoned. You have never been invisible. You have never faced a single challenge alone. My presence is not seasonal. It is constant. It is not fragile. It is faithful. I never left you in your past. I am not leaving you in your present. And I will not leave you in your future. Not even once. My beloved child, there is a strength within you that you still underestimate. You see your moments of hesitation. You remember your tears more vividly than your resilience. You focus on the times you felt afraid, not the times you moved forward despite the fear. But I see the full picture, and I tell you now, you are stronger than you think. There were days when you believed you could not endure another disappointment. Yet you did. There were seasons when exhaustion wrapped around you like a heavy blanket, and still you rose the next morning. You called it survival. I called it strength. Strength is not loud. It is not always visible to others. It does not always look like confidence. Sometimes it looks like choosing to try again after failure. Sometimes it looks like setting a boundary even when your voice shakes. Sometimes it looks like resting instead of quitting. The strength within you has been forming quietly, like roots growing deep beneath unseen soil. You often compare yourself to others and conclude that they are braver, more capable, more stable. But you do not see their private battles, just as they do not see yours. And you measure your weakness by moments of vulnerability. My beloved, vulnerability is not weakness. It is honesty. And honesty requires courage. Think of tempered steel. It becomes strong not by avoiding fire, but by passing through it. It refines it. Reherjevsi. Without the fire, the steel remains brittle. The challenges you have faced were not meant to break you. They were refining you. They were strengthening your capacity to stand firm when circumstances shift. You have learned to sit with discomfort rather than run from it. That is strength. You have learned to apologize when necessary and forgive when it would have been easier to hold resentment. That is strength. You have learned to keep hope alive even when evidence seems scarce. That is strength. There were moments when you thought you were at your limit. You whispered, "I cannot handle this." Yet something within you kept moving. That something was not random determination. It was resilience I placed inside you long before you recognized it. I designed you with endurance woven into your spirit. You are also stronger emotionally than you realize. You feel deeply, and sometimes you see that as a flaw. But your depth of feeling is part of your strength. It allows you to empathize, to connect, to understand others in ways that superficial strength never could. Sensitivity is not fragility when it is grounded in truth. You have faced fears you once avoided. You have had conversations you once postponed. You have made decisions that required courage. Each of those moments added another layer of stability within you. Growth is cumulative. You do not always notice it because it happens gradually, but it is there. My beloved child, the strength within you is not meant for pride but for purpose. It will support you in seasons that demand leadership, patience, and wisdom. It will steady you when opportunities expand. It will anchor you when responsibilities increase. The preparation you have walked through has built capacity. You do not need to pretend to be fearless. You only need to remember that fear does not define you. You can feel uncertain and still be strong. You can feel tired and still be capable. Strength is not the absence of struggle. It is the decision to continue despite it. As you move forward, stop speaking weakness over yourself. Stop dismissing your progress. Look honestly at how far you have come. You are not the same person you were a year ago. You respond differently. You recover faster. You trust deeper. That is strength, and it did not appear overnight. It was cultivated through every challenge you endured, every lesson you learned, every moment you chose to remain. My beloved, the strength you did not know you had is already carrying you, and it will continue to carry you into the next chapter with confidence and grace. My beloved child, there is a quiet grief you have carried about the people who are no longer walking beside you. Some left suddenly. Some drifted slowly. Some relationships changed so subtly that you did not notice the distance until it was already wide. And you have wondered if you did something wrong, if you could have tried harder, if you should have held on tighter. But hear me gently now. Not everyone assigned to one season of your life is meant to walk with you into the next. Growth changes you. Preparation reshapes you. As you evolve, your needs shift, your boundaries strengthen, your vision clarifies. And when you begin to step into deeper alignment with who I created you to be, some connections no longer fit the same way they once did. This is not betrayal. It is transition. There were people who met you in a version of yourself that you have outgrown. They knew you when you doubted more, when you tolerated more, when you settled more. As you began to heal, as you began to require respect, as you began to listen to my voice more closely, the dynamic changed. Sometimes growth creates harmony. Other times it creates separation. You mourn some of those endings deeply. You replayed memories. You questioned whether reconciliation was possible. You asked me to restore what felt broken. And in some cases, restoration was not the answer. Release was. Imagine a traveler climbing a mountain. At the base, many companions gather. The path is wide and easy. But as the climb becomes steeper, fewer are willing to continue. Not because the traveler is unworthy, but because the altitude requires endurance and commitment. Some turn back. Others choose a different path. The traveler must keep climbing, even if the group grows smaller. You are the traveler, my beloved. There were relationships that were comfortable but limiting. Conversations that revolved around old patterns you are no longer meant to repeat. Expectations that subtly pressured you to shrink back into who you used to be. If those connections had continued unchanged, they might have slowed your growth or diluted your focus. This does not mean those people were evil. It does not mean the memories were false. It means the season shifted. You have also felt guilt for outgrowing certain environments. You wondered if maturity meant staying the same to preserve harmony. But staying smaller to keep others comfortable is not humility. It is self-abandonment. I did not create you to remain in places that restrict your calling. There are also times when I remove people to protect you. Not every influence is healthy for your future. Not every voice deserves access to your inner world. When certain doors close, it is not always because you failed. Sometimes it is because I am safeguarding your peace. You may still miss them. You may still wish things had unfolded differently. Grief is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that something mattered. Allow yourself to honor what was, without clinging to what cannot continue. And understand this clearly. I am not leaving you isolated. As some people step out of your life, I am aligning others who resonate with your growth. Connections built on mutual respect. Friendships grounded in authenticity. Partnerships that support rather than compete with your calling. The narrowing of your circle is not a loss of value. It is refinement. It is clarity. It is preparation for deeper, healthier bonds. My beloved child, do not chase what has chosen to walk away. Do not beg for seats at tables that no longer align with your purpose. Trust that if someone was meant to remain, they would have stayed with integrity and peace. You are not abandoned. You are advancing. And as you continue forward, you will find that the right people will not be intimidated by your growth. They will celebrate it. They will grow alongside you. They will recognize the version of you that is emerging and honor it. Release those who could not go with you. Bless them in your heart. And keep climbing. I am guiding your steps, and I know exactly who belongs in your next chapter. My beloved child, there is a calling woven into your life that you have sensed for longer than you admit. It has followed you quietly through different seasons. It has appeared in your daydreams, in your late-night thoughts, in the moments when you feel most alive. And yet, you have tried to silence it. You have told yourself it is too much, too unrealistic, too inconvenient. But the stirring within you is not faded, because it was never random. It was placed there by me. Calling does not always arrive as a loud command. Sometimes it begins as a persistent pull, a curiosity you cannot shake, a desire to contribute in a way that feels meaningful. You may have labeled it ambition or imagination, but deep down you knew it felt different. It felt personal. It felt aligned with something larger than your comfort. You have resisted it for understandable reasons. You feared the responsibility that might come with it. You feared being seen. You feared failing in front of others. You questioned your qualifications. Who am I to do this? You asked. What if I step out and fall short? These questions felt practical, even wise. But beneath them was fear, not truth. The calling on your life is not about comparison. It is not about competing with someone else's path. It is about alignment with the design I placed within you. You were not assembled randomly. Your strengths, your sensitivities, your passions, even your past struggles, all form a pattern. A pattern pointed toward purpose. You have noticed that certain topics move you more deeply than others. Certain problems stir your compassion. Certain ideas ignite your creativity. That is not coincidence. Those are clues. They are indicators of where your heart and your design intersect. Calling often hides in what consistently captures your attention. Yet you tried to ignore it because stepping into it would require change. It might require learning new skills. It might require leaving behind familiarity. It might require facing insecurity head-on. Growth can feel disruptive. And so you chose safety over stretching, at least for a time. But safety has begun to feel limiting. You sense that staying where you are no longer satisfies you. The routine feels predictable. The comfort feels constricting. A subtle dissatisfaction is not a gratitude. It is awareness. It is your spirit recognizing that you were not created to remain static. Imagine a musical instrument crafted with precision, designed to produce beautiful sound. If it remains untouched, stored safely away, it will never fulfill its purpose. It may remain undamaged, but it will also remain silent. You, my beloved, were not created to remain silent in your potential. You were created to express something unique in this world. The calling does not demand perfection. It asks for willingness. You do not need to see the entire staircase to take the first step. I will not reveal every detail at once. If I did, you might feel overwhelmed. Instead, I guide step by step. Each act of obedience brings clarity for the next. You have also underestimated how your past prepared you for this. The hardships you endured built empathy. The delays strengthened patience. The failures taught resilience. Nothing was wasted. The very experiences you wished away are part of your preparation. They have shaped you into someone capable of carrying more than you realize. Do not confuse humility with shrinking. Humility recognizes that the strength comes from me. Shrinking denies the gifts I placed within you. When you dismiss your calling, you are not protecting yourself from pride. You are postponing alignment. My beloved child, the calling you tried to ignore will not disappear. It will continue to surface gently, persistently. Not to pressure you, but to invite you. I am not demanding instant action. I am inviting trust. Take one step. Explore the idea. Speak the vision aloud. Learn what you need to learn. Begin where you are. You are not too late. You are not unqualified beyond growth. You are not foolish for dreaming. I placed that desire within you for a reason. And as you lean toward it instead of away from it, you will discover that I have been walking ahead of you all along, preparing the path your calling requires. My beloved child, there are memories you still revisit with a sense of heaviness. Moments you wish you could rewrite. Decisions you replay in your mind, imagining better outcomes. There are chapters of your life that you quietly label as failures, as if they permanently define who you are. But I need you to understand something deeply. Your past is a lesson, not a life sentence. You have carried old mistakes like chains around your wrists. You speak of them internally as proof that you are flawed beyond repair. You assume that because something ended poorly, it disqualified you from future goodness. But that is not how I see you. I do not look at your past and see a record of shame. I see a record of growth. Yes, there were missteps. Yes, there were moments when you acted from fear instead of wisdom. Yes, there were times when you trusted the wrong voices or ignored your own discernment. But none of those moments erased your value. They did not cancel your calling. They did not surprise me. You are not the only one who has stumbled. Growth requires experience. Experience sometimes includes error. If you had known then what you know now, you would have chosen differently. But wisdom is often born from the very situations you now regret. You did not fail because you are incapable. You were learning because you are human. The danger is not in having a past. The danger is in living inside it. Some of your memories have become walls. You tell yourself, I always mess things up, or I am just not good at this, or people like me don't succeed. Those statements are not truth. They are conclusions drawn from limited chapters. You cannot judge the whole book by a few difficult pages. Imagine a traveler who stumbles on a rocky path and decides never to walk again. The fall bruises them, so they assume the journey itself is cursed. But the fall was not the destination. It was a moment along the way. In the same way, your past moments of failure were not your final identity. They were stepping stones. You have also allowed the opinions of others to shape how you view your history. Words spoken in anger. Labels given in frustration. criticism delivered without understanding. Over time, those voices became part of your inner dialogue, but their perspective was incomplete. They did not see your intentions. They did not carry your burdens. They did not know the full context. I know the full context. I know why you made the choices you did. I know the fears you were battling at the time. I know the pressures you felt. And I know the courage it took for you to keep going afterward. Your past does not disqualify you. It equips you. It has given you empathy for others who struggle. It has taught you humility. It has made you more aware, more discerning. My beloved child, forgiveness is not just something you extend to others. It is something you must accept for yourself. When I forgive, I do not revisit the offense. I do not hold it over you. I do not remind you of it to control you. Yet you continue to remind yourself. You reopen wounds that I have already healed. Let them close. Your future is not chained to your former mistakes. You are not required to relive old patterns. You have changed. You have grown. The person you are now is not the same as the person who made those decisions. Release the narrative that says you are stuck. Release the belief that your past defines your ceiling. It does not. You are not a prisoner of yesterday. You are a student of it. And what you have learned is preparing you to walk into tomorrow with greater wisdom and strength. My beloved, lift your head. The door to your future is open. The past may have shaped you, but it does not own you. My beloved child, you have been waiting for a moment when everything suddenly feels whole again. You imagined healing as a dramatic shift, a clear dividing line between before and after. You thought one day you would wake up and the ache would be gone, the memories would no longer sting, the weight would completely disappear. But healing rarely arrives like a lightning strike. More often, it comes like sunrise, steady, quiet, persistent. And right now, even if you do not fully recognize it, healing is unfolding within you. You are not who you were at the height of your pain. There was a time when certain thoughts would spiral out of control. Now you pause. You breathe. You question the spiral before it consumes you. That is healing. There was a time when one disappointment could define your entire week. Now, you recover more quickly. That is healing. There was a time when you believed every negative thought about yourself without challenge. Now, you hesitate before agreeing with it. That is healing. Healing often begins with awareness. You are becoming more aware of your triggers, your patterns, your emotional rhythms. Instead of judging yourself harshly, you are starting to observe with curiosity. You ask, why did that affect me so deeply? Rather than declaring, there is something wrong with me. That shift from condemnation to curiosity is growth. It is restoration at work. My beloved, some wounds were buried so deeply that you convinced yourself they were gone. You became skilled at functioning around them. You excelled at staying busy, at distracting yourself, at focusing on everyone else's needs. But functionality is not the same as freedom. I desire freedom for you. And so, gently, I have been bringing certain memories and emotions back into the light, not to hurt you again, but to finally heal what was never fully addressed. When light enters a dark room, it reveals what was hidden. At first, I can feel uncomfortable. You see the dust, the cracks, the corners that need attention. But revelation is not destruction. It is preparation for restoration. The tenderness you feel when old emotions resurface is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that you are brave enough to feel. You are also healing in how you relate to others. You are setting boundaries where you once overextended. You are saying no where you once said yes out of fear. You are choosing honesty over silent resentment. These are not small changes. They reflect an inner strengthening. You are learning that protecting your peace is not selfish. It is wise. There was a time when you defined yourself by what hurt you. You carried labels formed from painful experiences: rejected, overlooked, inadequate, too much, not enough. Those labels shaped how you moved through the world. But slowly, they are losing their grip. You are beginning to see yourself as resilient, thoughtful, capable, worthy. That redefinition is healing. Understand this clearly, my beloved. Healing is not linear. Some days you feel strong and clear. Other days you feel vulnerable again. This does not mean you are regressing. Waves may revisit the shore, but they do not erase the coastline. Each time you process emotion in a healthier way, each time you choose trust over fear, you are reinforcing your foundation. I am also healing your trust in me. There were moments when you questioned my goodness because of what you experienced. But you are starting to see that I was present even in the hardest chapters. That recognition softens your heart. It allows you to release resentment and lean into faith again. Imagine a broken bone that has been set properly. During the healing process, it may feel stiff, tender, even uncomfortable at times. But as it mends, it often becomes stronger at the point of fracture. In the same way, the areas where you once felt weakest are becoming sources of strength and wisdom. My beloved child, you do not need to rush this process. You do not need to demand instant perfection from yourself. Healing is already in motion. You are softer yet stronger, more aware yet more peaceful, more honest yet more hopeful. Trust what is happening within you, even if it feels subtle, even if it feels slow. Restoration is not coming someday. It is present now, working quietly, steadily, faithfully in your heart. My beloved child, you have been measuring distance by what your eyes can see. You look at your circumstances and decide how far away your breakthrough must be. You count the obstacles. You calculate the delays. You compare your timeline to others. And quietly, you conclude that it will take much longer. I am still so far from where I want to be. But I tell you now with certainty and tenderness, you are closer than you think. There is a temptation to quit when you are on the edge of change. Fatigue increases. Doubt grows louder. Old fears try one last time to reclaim authority. This is not coincidence. It often happens right before transition. The moment before dawn is the darkest. The final stretch of a climb feels the steepest. But steep does not mean impossible. It means near. You have already done the hard internal work. You have faced truths about yourself that were uncomfortable. You have released people and patterns that once felt necessary. You have endured silence without abandoning trust. That preparation was not wasted. It positioned you closer to alignment than you realize. Imagine a traveler walking through fog. The path ahead looks uncertain. The destination feels distant. But if the fog could suddenly lift, the traveler would see that the mountain cabin is only a few steps away. The distance felt long because vision was limited. In the same way, your perception has been clouded by uncertainty, but your progress has been steady. You have grown in patience. You have matured in discernment. You have become less reactive and more reflective. These shifts are not minor. They are signs that you are prepared for what is next. I do not bring you to the edge of promise only to abandon you there. There are doors that are already alight. There are conversations that are already aligning. There are opportunities that are closer than your doubts suggest. But you must not retreat now. Do not allow temporary weariness to convince you that permanent progress is impossible. You are closer to clarity, closer to peace, closer to purpose, closer to the version of yourself you once prayed to become. My beloved child, if these words are strengthening your spirit, let your response be more than silent agreement. Let your faith take action. Bless this message with a like so it may travel farther than your own ears. Share it with someone who is standing at the edge of quitting, so they remember they are not alone. And do not hesitate to hype this video, so it rises and reaches hearts that are quietly losing hope. When you subscribe and stay connected, you create space for continued encouragement in your journey. These small acts of support carry greater impact than you realize. You are not waiting at the beginning anymore. You are standing at the threshold. The growth behind you is evidence. The stirring within you is confirmation. The peace returning to your heart is assurance. Do not turn back to what felt familiar but limited. Do not settle for survival when expansion is ahead. You are closer than you think to the breakthrough you have prayed for, closer to the confidence you have longed for, closer to the freedom you imagined was distant. Take one more step. Trust one more time. Hold steady just a little longer. My beloved, you are not walking in circles. You are advancing. And what you thought was far away is nearer than your fear has allowed you to believe. My beloved child, you are closer than you think, not only to breakthrough, but to impact. The threshold you are standing on is not for you alone. When you choose to support this word through super thanks, membership, or a PayPal offering, the PayPal link is in the video description. You push the door wider for others who are almost giving up. I have said, let your light shine before others, and I am igniting that command in you now. Your generosity becomes a torch in someone else's fog. It becomes strength in their final stretch. This is not coincidence. This is convergence. The stirring you feel is not emotion. It is divine timing. As you sow at the edge of your own breakthrough, I release acceleration, provision, and favor over your house. Do not hesitate at the threshold. Act now, give, and step fully into the harvest I have prepared. My beloved child, there was a valley you walked through that you never would have chosen. If it had been up to you, you would have taken the brighter path, the smoother road, the one line with visible progress and immediate answers. But instead, you found yourself in a low place, surrounded by uncertainty, shadowed by questions, slowed by heaviness. And you asked me, quietly and sometimes desperately, why this path? A valley was not a punishment. It was a passage. Valleys feel isolating because they sit between elevations. You can see the mountains on either side, but you are not standing on either one. You are in the in-between. And the in-between can feel uncomfortable. It is a space where old things have ended but new things have not yet fully appeared. It is a place where identity shifts and confidence is tested. But valleys are also places where roots grow deep. On the mountain peaks, the wind is strong and the soil is thin. Growth can be limited at the highest points. But in the valley, water gathers. Nutrients settle. Foundations strengthen. What feels low can actually be fertile. What feels hidden can be formative. You learn things about yourself in that valley that you would never have discovered on the mountaintop. You learned how to sit with uncertainty without collapsing. You learned how to pray without immediate results. You learned how to keep walking even when motivation faded. Those lessons were not glamorous, but they were powerful. In the valley, distractions were fewer. The noise was reduced. You could hear your own thoughts more clearly. And you could hear me more clearly too, even if you did not always recognize my voice. I spoke to you in quiet reassurances. I steadied you in small ways. I reminded you that you were not alone, even when companionship felt distant. There were moments when you felt smaller in that valley, less confident, less visible. But humility grew there. Gratitude grew there. Compassion deepened there. You became more sensitive to others' pain because you understood it personally. You became more patient because you had endured waiting. You became more grounded because you could no longer rely on shallow stability. My beloved child, valleys strip away illusions. They reveal what truly sustains you. In easier seasons, you may have leaned on approval, on progress, on external affirmation. In the valley, those supports were limited. And so you learned to lean on something deeper. You learned to lean on me. You also discovered resilience. There were days when simply getting out of bed felt like an accomplishment. There were nights when you questioned everything you thought you understood. And yet, you remained. You did not give up. You did not abandon your faith completely. You kept walking, even if your steps were slow. The valley was shaping your endurance. Imagine a river carving its path through a lowland. It does not rush upward. It flows steadily, persistently, shaping the terrain over time. In the same way, your time in the valley shaped you. It softened some areas of your heart. It strengthened others. It carved clarity into your character. You may still carry memories from that season with mixed emotions. But look closely. You are not as fragile as you once were. You are not as easily shaken. You are not as dependent on external reassurance. That strength was forged there. The valley was not your destination. It was your development ground. It prepared you for higher ground, for a broader vision, for greater responsibility. Without it, you might have reached new heights without the stability to remain there. My beloved, do not resent the valley. Honor what it produced in you. It was a sacred place of growth, even when it felt like loss. And remember this, I walked through it with you. You were never alone in the low place. The same hand that led you into it led you out of it. You did not walk through the valley to be defeated. You walked through it to be strengthened. My beloved child, you have grown used to waiting in hallways. You have stood before closed doors, wondering if they would ever move. You have knocked with hope, only to hear silence echo back. At times, you questioned whether the hallway itself was your final destination. But I tell you now with certainty, the hallway was preparation, not permanence. And there are doors about to open that will reflect the growth you have walked through. Closed doors can feel personal. They can feel like rejection, like failure, like a verdict against your worth. You tried some handles repeatedly. You prayed for certain outcomes with sincerity. When they did not unfold as you expected, you assumed something was wrong with you. But what you could not see then is what I am revealing now. Some doors were locked because they led to rooms too small for your future. I do not close doors to frustrate you. I close them to refine your direction. There were opportunities that looked impressive but would have drained you. There were spaces that would have applauded you while quietly diminishing you. There were environments that would have rewarded your talent but neglected your peace. Those doors remained closed not because you lacked ability, but because I was guarding your well-being. Now, something has shifted. You have matured in discernment. You have grown in patience. You have become less impulsive and more intentional. That transformation matters, because the doors ahead require not only skill, but stability. They require not only desire, but wisdom. The doors about to open will not simply validate you. They will align with you. Some will appear subtly. A conversation that feels natural yet significant. An idea that resurfaces with clarity instead of confusion. An invitation that once would have intimidated you but now feels manageable. Do not overlook small beginnings. I often hide greater purpose within simple opportunities. Imagine standing in a corridor lined with doors, each representing possibility. In the past, you may have rushed from one to another, trying to force entry, eager to escape uncertainty. But now, you are more centered. You listen before acting. You sense whether peace accompanies the opportunity. That inner steadiness will guide you toward the right opening. There will also be doors that open because of seeds you planted long ago. Acts of kindness you forgot. Work you completed with integrity when no one was watching. Conversations you handled with grace. You may not have seen immediate results, but seeds do not bloom the moment they are planted. They grow beneath the surface until the season is right. And the season is changing. You may feel a mixture of anticipation and hesitation as new doors begin to move. That is natural. Growth stretches comfort. Expansion requires courage. But do not interpret nervousness as a warning. Sometimes it is simply evidence that you are stepping beyond familiarity. The doors ahead are not about proving yourself. They are about expressing who you have become. They will not require you to shrink, to compromise your peace, or to abandon your values. They will feel aligned rather than forced. They will challenge you, but they will not consume you. My beloved child, I do not open every door. I open the right ones. And when I do, you will sense it. Not through pressure, but through clarity. Not through chaos, but through confirmation. You will recognize the difference between striving and stepping. Remember, an open door still requires movement. I will prepare it, but you must walk through it. Trust that the same hand that sustained you in the valley will steady you in expansion. Trust that the preparation was not wasted. It was necessary. You are not standing in an endless hallway. You are standing at the edge of transition. What once felt like delay is about to reveal itself as alignment. Stay attentive. Stay open. The next door is not just an opportunity. It is a continuation of the story I have been writing in your life all along. My beloved child, one of the hardest lessons for your heart to learn is how to rest in what you cannot yet understand. You long for clarity. You crave reassurance that everything will unfold exactly as you hope. You want to know how the story ends before you fully commit to walking through the middle. But life with me has never been about having every answer in advance. It has always been about trust. There are areas of your life right now that feel undefined. Questions linger without clear solutions. You look ahead and see fog instead of certainty. And because you cannot see the full path, you are tempted to slow down, to hesitate, or to grasp for control. But control is not the same as security. In fact, the tighter you grip what you cannot see, the more anxious you become. Trust requires surrender, not ignorance. It does not mean pretending that uncertainty does not exist. It means acknowledging that even within uncertainty, you are not alone. You may not see the entire path, but I do. You may not know how certain doors will open, but I am already preparing the hinges. Think of walking through a dense forest at night with only a small lantern. The lantern does not illuminate the entire forest. It shows just enough for the next few steps. If you demand to see the whole journey at once, you will feel frustrated. But if you focus on the ground directly ahead, you will notice that the light is sufficient. My guidance works in the same way. I illuminate what you need for today. You often assume that if you could see the future, you would feel calmer. But sometimes the future contains challenges that you are not yet prepared to face emotionally. If I revealed everything at once, it might overwhelm you. So I reveal in portions, in layers, in moments that match your growth. This is not withholding. It is wisdom. There have been seasons before when you did not know how things would work out. You worried about provision, about direction, about relationships, about decisions. Yet step by step, resolution came. Not always in the way you imagined, but in the way that ultimately strengthened you. Look back honestly. You have walked through uncertainty before and emerged stronger. That same pattern will continue. My beloved, trust grows when you remember. Remember the times you thought you would not recover, yet you did. Remember the situations that seemed permanent, yet changed. Remember the strength that rose within you when you felt depleted. Those were not accidents. They were evidence. You fear that trusting me means risking disappointment. But consider this carefully. Have I not carried you through what you once believed would destroy you? Have I not redirected you when you were about to take harmful paths? Have I not sustained you even when your own faith felt fragile? Your history with me is proof of my faithfulness. Uncertainty is not a threat. It is space for growth. It stretches your capacity to rely on something deeper than visible evidence. It teaches you patience. It teaches you humility. It teaches you that your perspective, while valuable, is not complete. When your thoughts begin to race with what if, pause. Replace what if it fails with what if it unfolds exactly as it should. Replace what if I am not ready with what if I am being prepared right now. Shift your questions from fear to trust. My beloved child, I am not asking you to walk blindly. I am asking you to walk faithfully. Each step you take in trust builds confidence. Each surrender of control creates peace. Each moment you choose to believe in my guidance strengthens your spirit. You do not need to see the entire horizon to move forward. You only need to know who walks beside you. And I am beside you. I am ahead of you. I am behind you. Trust me with what you cannot see. I see it fully, and I am guiding you through it with love. My beloved child, there was a season when joy flowed through you without effort. You did not analyze it. You did not question whether it would last. You simply experienced it. You laughed freely. You dreamed boldly. You moved with a lightness that made even ordinary days feel meaningful. But over time, responsibilities increased, disappointments accumulated, and certain hopes were delayed. Gradually, almost unnoticed, that lightness faded. You did not become bitter. You did not abandon your faith. But you became cautious. You learned to brace yourself before celebrating. You lowered expectations to avoid deeper hurt. You told yourself that this was wisdom, that maturity required restraint. Yet wisdom does not demand the sacrifice of joy. Caution may protect you from surprise, but it can also prevent you from delight. Joy is not shallow happiness tied to perfect circumstances. It is deeper than that. Joy is a steady undercurrent that remains even when the surface waters are stirred. It is rooted in trust, not in outcomes. It does not deny difficulty, but it refuses to be defined by it. You have been carrying more than your portion. You have taken on concerns that were never meant to rest on your shoulders. You have tried to control outcomes that belong to me. And in doing so, tension quietly replaced joy. When the mind is constantly calculating, anticipating, and guarding, it has little space left for simple delight. My beloved, restoration begins with release. Release the belief that you must anticipate every problem. Release the habit of replaying worst-case scenarios. Release the pressure to remain strong at all times. Joy cannot grow in soil crowded with relentless self-protection. Think of a field that has endured a long winter. The ground appears frozen, barren, lifeless. But beneath the surface, life has not disappeared. It has simply been waiting for warmth. When spring arrives, growth seems sudden, but it has been prepared long before the first bloom appears. In the same way, joy within you has not died. It has been resting beneath layers of fatigue and caution. You have already begun to see signs of renewal. A moment of unexpected laughter. A quiet sense of gratitude for something small. A gentle excitement about a possibility you once dismissed. These are not random emotions. They are indicators that the frost is thawing. There were times when you felt guilty for experiencing joy while challenges remained unresolved. You wondered if it was irresponsible to smile when not everything was perfect. But joy does not require perfection. It requires presence. It is possible to acknowledge difficulty while still embracing light. My beloved child, joy strengthens you. It renews your energy. It sharpens your perspective. When joy returns, obstacles appear manageable rather than overwhelming. You remember that your life is more than a series of problems to solve. It is a journey to experience. You may fear that allowing joy makes you vulnerable. What if you hope again and disappointment returns? But shielding yourself from joy does not prevent pain. It only limits your capacity to experience fullness. Courage is not only facing hardship, it is also permitting yourself to delight again. Restoration unfolds gradually. You will notice yourself smiling without forcing it. You will feel anticipation instead of dread when stepping into new experiences. You will rediscover interests and passions that once energized you. You will speak with more warmth, think with more openness, breathe with less tension. Do not resist this renewal because it feels unfamiliar. You have grown accustomed to heaviness, and lightness may seem fragile at first. But it is not fragile. It is strength returning. My beloved, you were never meant to live in constant survival mode. You were created for abundance of spirit. A weight is lifting. A guardedness is softening. The spark within you is being rekindled. Joy is not something you must chase. It is something I am restoring. Receive it. Allow it. Walk in it. Your joy is returning, and with it, a renewed confidence in the goodness that still surrounds you. My beloved child, there is a sacred courage required to begin again. Not the kind of courage that draws applause, not the kind that looks dramatic from the outside, but the quiet, steady courage that rises within you after disappointment. Beginning again asks you to believe that your story is not over. It asks you to trust that what did not work before does not define what is possible now. You have faced moments that made you hesitate. You have invested time, energy, emotion into things that did not unfold as you hoped. When they ended, a part of you grew cautious. You told yourself that trying again might only lead to another letdown. And so you learned to hold back. You learned to protect your expectations. You learned to approach new opportunities with guarded restraint. But caution, when held too tightly, becomes a cage. Confidence is not the belief that nothing will go wrong. It is the belief that even if something does, you will not be destroyed by it. And you have already proven that to yourself. You have survived outcomes you once thought would undo you. You have walked through embarrassment, uncertainty, and grief, and you are still here. That survival is not small. It is evidence. Beginning again does not mean pretending the past did not happen. It means integrating what you learned from it. You are not stepping forward as the same person who once stumbled. You are stepping forward with greater discernment. You are more aware of your boundaries. You recognize red flags sooner. You understand your own strengths and limitations more clearly. That awareness gives you stability. Imagine a tree that endured a harsh storm. Branches may have broken, leaves may have fallen, but the roots remained. When spring arrives, the tree does not refuse to grow because winter was difficult. It grows again, strengthened by deeper roots. In the same way, the storms you endured have not stripped you of potential. They have strengthened your foundation. You may still carry questions. You may still feel moments of hesitation. That is human. Confidence does not erase vulnerability. It simply prevents vulnerability from paralyzing you. It allows you to move forward even when your heart beats a little faster. My beloved, you do not need complete certainty to begin again. Waiting for total assurance may keep you stationary forever. Growth requires movement before clarity is fully formed. When you take a step, even a small one, understanding follows. There is also something else you must remember. You are not beginning alone. You are not required to orchestrate every detail. When you step forward in faith, I step with you. When you feel unsure, I steady you. When you encounter obstacles, I provide strength to navigate them. Your confidence is not rooted in your perfection. It is rooted in my presence. You may feel as though time has been lost. You may calculate years and wonder if you are behind. But your timeline does not limit me. What feels delayed to you can still unfold beautifully. You have gained depth, empathy, and resilience that you would not trade now, even if it came through difficulty. Beginning again might look different this time. It may be slower. It may be more intentional. It may involve fewer people but deeper connections. That is not regression. That is refinement. My beloved child, do not let fear of repetition keep you from renewal. The past was a teacher, not a jailer. You are wiser now. You are steadier now. You are more aligned now. Lift your head. Breathe deeply. Take the step you have been postponing. Send the message. Submit the application. Have the conversation. Open your heart. Try again. You are not foolish for hoping. You are not weak for trying. You are not naive for believing that something good can still unfold. You have the confidence to begin again, not because the path is guaranteed to be easy, but because you are no longer the person you once were. You are stronger, clearer, and more grounded. Step forward, my beloved. I am walking with you into this new beginning. My beloved child, there were seasons when the silence felt personal. You watched others step into opportunities you had prayed for. You saw celebrations unfold around you while your own requests seemed suspended in the air. And in the quiet corners of your heart, a question formed that you were almost afraid to speak. Have I been forgotten? You tried to dismiss the thought. You reminded yourself to be grateful. You counted blessings to silence the ache. Yet the ache remained, not loud, not dramatic, but steady. It surfaced when you compared your timeline to someone else's. It appeared when another door closed without explanation. It whispered when your efforts went unnoticed. But I tell you now with unwavering certainty, you were never forgotten. I do not misplace my children. I do not lose track of your prayers. I do not grow distracted by the noise of the world and overlook your needs. Every sigh, every whispered hope, every tear shed in private had been seen, recorded, and understood. You measured visibility as proof of remembrance. You assumed that if something important were happening, it would be obvious. But many of the most significant developments in your life have taken place where no one else could see them. Roots grow underground. Foundations are laid beneath the surface. Preparation often feels like obscurity. There were times when you felt invisible in rooms full of people. Your contributions went unrecognized. Your kindness was expected but not acknowledged. You wondered if your presence truly mattered. My beloved, your value has never depended on applause. It has never required validation from others to be real. You have also felt forgotten in relationships. When someone walked away without fighting to stay, you interpreted it as evidence that you were not enough. But someone's inability to recognize your worth does not diminish it. Their perception was limited by their own capacity. Mine is not. When you waited longer than you expected, you assumed delay meant neglect. But delay is not abandonment. It is alignment. There were details being arranged beyond your sight. Conversations unfolding that you did not hear. Circumstances shifting quietly. Yes, because you could not see the movement does not mean there was none. Imagine a gardener tending a field at night. From a distance, it appears as though nothing is happening. But seeds are being watered. Soil is being prepared. Growth is beginning in darkness. When morning comes, green shoots appear, and the field seems to transform suddenly. Yet the transformation began long before it was visible. In the same way, much of what I have done in your life has occurred beneath the surface. You have also forgotten some of your own prayers. Requests you made years ago have faded from your memory. But I have not forgotten them. Some are still in process. Some were answered differently than you expected. Some were redirected for your protection. Silence was never indifference. My beloved child, I know the details of your story better than you do. I know the intentions behind your actions. I know the battles you fought internally while appearing calm externally. I know the courage it took to continue when you felt unseen. You were never an afterthought. You were never a forgotten name in a crowd. I know you intimately, your fears, your strengths, your quiet dreams. I have been attentive to you in moments when you doubted my nearness. The feeling of being forgotten often grows in waiting seasons. But waiting is not erasure. It is preparation. It is refinement. It is positioning. Lift your eyes from comparison. Release the belief that speed determines significance. Your journey unfolds at a pace tailored specifically for you. You have always been seen. You have always been known. You have always been remembered. And when what has been forming beneath the surface finally becomes visible, you will realize that I was never absent. I was present in every moment, guiding, shaping, and holding you close. My beloved child, there comes a moment in every journey when preparation meets opportunity. A moment when reflection must turn into action. A moment where healing must transition into movement. That moment is not someday in the distant future. It is not reserved for a version of you that feels flawless. It is now. Now is the hour. You have spent seasons learning, growing, releasing, healing. You have walked through valleys and stood in hallways of waiting. You have faced your fears and questioned your doubts. You have shed old identities and embraced deeper truths. All of that was necessary. All of it was preparation. But preparation was never meant to become permanent residence. There is a shift happening within you. You feel a restlessness that no longer feels like confusion but like readiness. A stirring that does not signal panic but purpose. You are not the same person you were when this journey began. Your perspective is clear. Your boundaries are stronger. Your trust is deeper. Now is not the time to retreat into old patterns. It is not the time to shrink back because the step ahead feels larger than the one before. Growth always feels bigger right before you step into it. But bigger does not mean beyond you. It means align with the capacity you have built. You may still hear faint echoes of fear. You may still feel traces of hesitation. But those feelings no longer control you. They are reminders that you are stretching, not signs that you are unqualified. My beloved, alignment requires response. You cannot remain in contemplation forever. There are conversations to initiate, decisions to finalize, actions to take. The door you have been standing before is open. You have tested the handle. You have prepared your heart. Now you must walk through. Do not wait for perfect certainty. Do not wait for universal approval. The hour does not announce itself with complete clarity. It announces itself with invitation. If these words are stirring something deep within you, do not let that stirring fade into routine. Bless this message with a like so it can reach others who are standing at their own threshold. Share it with someone who needs courage to step forward. And do not hesitate to hype this video so that it rises and finds the hearts that are ready for this very hour. When you subscribe and remain connected, you keep the door open for continued guidance and strength in your journey. You are not stepping into this hour unprepared. You are stepping into it refined. The lessons you learned were not abstract. They were equipping you. The healing you embraced was not passive. It was strengthening you. The waiting you endured was not wasted. It was aligning you. Now is the hour to trust your growth. Now is the hour to act on the calling you once resisted. Now is the hour to release the final doubts that kept you cautious. You do not need to see the entire future. You need to respond to the present invitation. When you move, clarity will follow. When you step forward, support will meet you. My beloved child, you have prayed for direction. You have asked for confirmation. Consider this your confirmation. Now is the hour. Step forward. My beloved child, now is the hour, and that includes how you respond to this calling. Preparation has met opportunity, and generosity is action. When you bless this mission through super thanks, membership, or a PayPal gift, the PayPal link is in the video description. You step through the open door with me. I have declared, give, and it shall be given unto you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over, and this promise stands alive over you now. Your seed becomes movement. Your offering becomes wind in the sails of this message, carrying it to souls standing at their own decisive hour. This is not a routine gesture. It is a prophetic response. The oil flows where there is surrender. The harvest rises where there is sowing. Do not remain at the doorway. Move. Give now, and watch me meet you with overflow. My beloved child, you have traveled far on this journey. You have faced fears you once avoided. You have healed wounds you once hid. You have stepped into growth that once intimidated you. And yet, even after all this progress, there remains a small, quiet doubt lingering in the background of your thoughts. It no longer shouts as it once did, but it whispers. It questions. It waits for moments of vulnerability to speak. This doubt does not come as open rebellion. It disguises itself as caution. It tells you it is protecting you. It says, do not expect too much. It says, do not trust completely. It says, stay guarded so you won't be hurt again. And part of you listens because you remember what disappointment felt like. You remember how it's done. You remember how long it took to rebuild your confidence. But my beloved, doubt is not your defender. I am. Doubt promises safety, but it delivers limitation. It keeps your dreams small so they cannot be shattered. It keeps your voice quiet so it cannot be criticized. It keeps your steps hesitant so you cannot stumble. But in protecting you from risk, it also protects you from growth. It shrinks your world under the illusion of security. There is a difference between wisdom and fear. Wisdom evaluates carefully and moves with clarity. Fear anticipates failure before the journey even begins. Wisdom allows you to proceed thoughtfully. Fear keeps you stationary. You have gained wisdom through your experiences. You do not need fear to guide you anymore. Think of a traveler who once stumbled on a rocky path. The fall hurt. It left a mark. So now, whenever the traveler sees a new path, doubt whispers, "Remember what happened last time." But what doubt fails to mention is that the traveler is stronger now, more aware, more balanced. The previous fall did not weaken the traveler permanently. They taught valuable lessons. In the same way, you are not who you were when you first encountered hardship. You have grown in discernment. You recognize unhealthy patterns sooner. You communicate more clearly. You set boundaries more confidently. You recover faster from setbacks. The growth you have achieved is real, even if you sometimes minimize it. And yet, this final doubt lingers because it feels familiar. It has been with you in seasons of uncertainty. It has kept your expectations low when hope felt risky. Letting go of it can feel like stepping into open space without armor. But you were not designed to live armored at all times. Imagine carrying a small weight in your hand every day. At first it seems insignificant. You barely notice it. But over months and years, it subtly strains your muscles. You grow accustomed to the tension and forget what it feels like to be unburdened. That is what lingering doubt has become. It may not feel heavy anymore, but it still restricts you. My beloved child, you have reached a point where that weight is no longer necessary. The lessons have been learned. The resilience has been built. The perspective has deepened. You can trust yourself more than you realize, not because you are flawless, but because you are guided. You may still experience moments of uncertainty. That is human. But uncertainty does not require surrendering to doubt. It simply invites reflection and continued trust. You can feel a flicker of nervousness and still take the step. You can acknowledge risk and still move forward with courage. Lay down the last doubt. Not because you will never face challenges again, but because you no longer need to shrink in anticipation of them. Not because everything ahead will be effortless, but because you are stronger than you once believed. You have outgrown the version of yourself that relied on doubt for protection. You are stepping into a season that requires openness, courage, and trust. Release the final hesitation. Set down the lingering fear. Walk forward without the quiet weight in your hand. My beloved, you are ready. My beloved child, there are moments in your life that felt like full stops. Periods at the end of painful sentences. You closed doors with trembling hands. You said quiet goodbyes in your heart. You folded certain dreams and placed them on shelves labeled "Never Again." And after enough time passed, you convinced yourself that those chapters were permanently sealed. But I am not bound by your punctuation. What you call vital, I often call formative. What you see as an ending, I sometimes see as a turning point hidden in disguise. You read a chapter and assumed it was the conclusion because the page ended. But you are not the author of the entire story. You are living within it. I am writing beyond it. There were opportunities you thought you missed forever. You replayed them in your mind and concluded, that was my chance. You measured time and told yourself you were too late now. Yet time does not limit my creativity. Delay does not diminish my power to restore. What seems out of reach to you is not out of reach to me. Some relationships ended in ways that left questions unresolved. You thought this is how it will always be. You accepted silence as permanence. But silence can be a pause, not a verdict. Growth can change dynamics. Healing can soften hearts. Maturity can reopen conversations that once seemed impossible. This does not mean that everything will return exactly as it was. I do not restore to repeat the past. I restore to redeem it. When I rewrite, I refine. When I reopen, I reshape. The version that returns, if it returns, will not be fragile in the same way. It will be strengthened by what you have learned. You have grown since those endings. You have developed clarity. You have established boundaries. You have deepened in wisdom. If certain doors open again, you will walk through them with steadier steps. You will not be the same person who once entered without awareness. My beloved, sometimes I allow something to close so that you can mature before it reappears in a healthier form. If it had continued in its earlier state, it might have harmed you. So I paused it. I allowed it to fall silent, not as rejection, but as preparation. Think of a field left unplanted for a season. From the outside, it appears barren. Nothing grows. Nothing moves. But beneath the surface, the soil is being restored. Nutrients are replenishing. When the time is right, what grows there will be stronger and more sustainable. In the same way, what seemed empty in your life may simply be resting before renewal. There are also dreams you quietly buried. Creative ideas. Career paths. Personal goals. You told yourself they were unrealistic. You assumed you had missed your window. But I do not discard dreams lightly. If I planted desire within you, it was not accidental. Some dreams require maturity before manifestation. You may have interpreted certain outcomes as permanent losses. But loss is not always the end of potential. Sometimes it is the clearing of ground. Sometimes it is the removal of what could not sustain your future. And sometimes it is the beginning of a different, more aligned version of the same desire. My beloved child, remain open to surprise. Remain willing to see beyond your previous conclusions. Do not lock doors I have not permanently sealed. Do not declare final what I have not finished writing. Your story is still unfolding. The pages are still turning. What you thought was over may simply be evolving. What you assumed was impossible may yet take new form. Trust me as I rewrite. Trust me as I reorder scenes. Trust me as I bring redemption into spaces you labeled closed. You may have placed a period where I intend to write a new paragraph. The ending you accepted may not be the ending I have prepared. My beloved child, there is a subtle tension in your heart whenever something good begins to unfold. Even as you smile, even as you step into new opportunities, a quiet thought lingers in the background. How long will this last? You brace yourself without realizing it. You prepare for loss before loss has appeared. You handle blessings carefully, as if they might shatter in your hands. This instinct was shaped by experience. You have known seasons where joy was followed by disappointment. You have watched stability shift without warning. You have invested in what seemed secure, only to see it change. Because of that history, part of you believes that the future is delicate, easily broken, dependent on perfect conditions. But my beloved, your future is not fragile. It is not made of glass. It is not dependent on your flawless performance. It is not so weak that one mistake can dismantle it. What I am building in your life is rooted more deeply than you can see. You sometimes assume that a single wrong decision can undo years of progress. That if you misstep, everything will collapse. But growth does not vanish because of imperfection. Wisdom does not evaporate because of a moment of doubt. The strength you have developed is not temporary. It hath been forged through testing, and tested strength is resilient. Think of a bridge engineered to carry heavy weight. It is not constructed from thin material that bends at the slightest pressure. It is reinforced layer by layer. Steel supports it. Foundations anchor it. When vehicles cross, the bridge does not panic. It was designed for load. In the same way, you have been reinforced through experience. What once would have overwhelmed you now strengthens you. My beloved child, I have not led you through valleys, waiting seasons, and healing journeys only to place you on unstable ground. I am not careless with your future. When I open doors, I do so with foresight. When I establish something, I anchor it in purpose, not chance. You may still find yourself hesitating to fully celebrate. You may limit your joy, thinking it will soften the blow if something goes wrong. But guarding yourself from joy does not prevent loss. It only restricts your experience of blessing. You are allowed to inhabit goodness without suspicion. There will be challenges ahead. Every meaningful future includes growth pains and adjustments. But challenges are not the same as collapse. A tree planted deeply can bend in the wind without uprooting. You are more deeply planted now than you were before. You have learned boundaries. You have cultivated discernment. You have aligned more closely with truth. The instability of your past was not proof that your future must repeat itself. In many cases, what fell apart was not aligned with your long-term growth. It was built on incomplete understanding. Now you are building differently. You are choosing differently. You are listening more closely. Imagine someone who once built on sand, unaware of the foundation's weakness. When storms came, the structure shifted. But now imagine that same person building on solid rock, carefully placing each stone. The storms may still arrive, but the house remains. That is the difference between your past and your present. My beloved, release the expectation that every season of peace must end abruptly. Release the belief that happiness must always be followed by heartbreak. You are not trapped in a cycle of rise and ruin. You are moving into steadiness. Your future is not fragile because it is not dependent solely on circumstance. It is supported by the growth you have cultivated and by my guidance that surrounds you. Breathe without bracing. Step forward without assuming collapse. Hope without preemptive fear. What is ahead of you is not a temporary illusion. It is being established with intention. It is fortified by preparation. It is strengthened by purpose. Stand confidently, my beloved. The future unfolding before you is not delicate. It is durable. It is grounded. It is secure in ways you are only beginning to understand. My beloved child, before you move any further into what is unfolding, you must allow me to speak directly to your identity. Not to your accomplishments. Not to your failures. Not to your public image. Do you? Because if you misunderstand who you are, you will shrink in wombs you were meant to stand tall in. You will question doors that were opened for you. You will doubt opportunities that align with your calling. So let me tell you who you truly are. You are not the worst thing you have ever done. You are not the harsh words someone once spoke over you. You are not the insecurity that tries to rise when you compare yourself to others. You are not defined by the season when you felt lost. Those were experiences. They were chapters. They were moments in time. They were not your essence. Somewhere along the way, you began to accept labels that were never authored by me. Too emotional. Too quiet. Too much. Not enough. Too late. Too behind. Those labels came from limited perspectives. They came from people who saw only fragments of you. And over time, you internalized them as truth. But I did not design you according to those labels. You are intentional. You are crafted with precision. Your personality, your temperament, your strengths, even the areas where you are still growing, all of it is part of a deliberate design. There is nothing accidental about your existence. You were not assembled from leftover parts. You were formed with care. You sometimes diminish your sensitivity, believing it makes you weak. But your sensitivity allows you to perceive nuance. It enables compassion. It helps you connect deeply with others. You sometimes question your cautious nature, thinking it slows you down. But that caution protects you from reckless choices. It guides you toward thoughtful decisions. Every trait you carry has purpose when aligned with truth. You have compared your journey to someone else's and felt smaller. You looked at their confidence and assumed yours was lacking. You saw their achievements and questioned your pace. But comparison distorts identity. You were never meant to mirror another path. You were meant to walk your own. You are not behind schedule. You are not misplaced. You are not overlooked in some grand oversight. You are seen fully, known deeply, loved without condition. Your worth does not fluctuate with productivity. It does not rise when you succeed and fall when you struggle. It was established before you accomplished anything. It remains steady when you rest. It remains steady when you are still learning. Imagine a master artist shaping a sculpture. The value of the piece is not determined by the applause it receives. It is rooted in the intention and craftsmanship of the artist. In the same way, your value is anchored in my intention. I form you with purpose. You are resilient. Look at what you have endured. Look at how you have continued. You are thoughtful. You reflect before acting. You are capable of deep love. You have forgiven when bitterness would have been easier. You have grown through seasons that once intimidated you. You are stronger than your doubts suggest. You are wiser than your insecurities admit. You are more prepared than your fear acknowledges. My beloved child, you are not fragile in the way you sometimes imagine. You are not inadequate. You are not destined to remain confined to old limitations. You are evolving. You are grounded. You are guided. When you begin to see yourself as I see you, something shifts. You no longer chase validation from every voice. You no longer shrink to fit into spaces that require you to diminish yourself. You no longer question whether you belong where you are called. Let me redefine you where you have misdefined yourself. You are not your lowest point. You are not your past shame. You are not the criticism that once stung. You are not the fear that sometimes whispers. You are my beloved child, chosen, sustained, and capable. Carry this identity with you. Let it shape your decisions. Let it steady your step. Let it silence comparison. This is who you truly are. My beloved child, you have been quietly asking for confirmation. Not always with dramatic words, not always in long prayers, but in the subtle questions that circle your thoughts. Am I really ready? Is this direction truly from you? Should I move forward or should I wait? You have longed for clarity, for reassurance that you are not misreading the signs within your own heart. I tell you now with tenderness and authority, this is your confirmation. You did not arrive at this moment randomly. You did not hear these words by accident. You have been seeking alignment, and what you are feeling right now is not coincidence. It is resonance. It is the quiet agreement between your spirit and my guidance. You have sensed that something is shifting. You have noticed that the old version of yourself no longer fits. You have recognized that your desires have matured, that your fears have softened, that your perspective has widened. Yet even with all this growth, you hesitated. You wondered if you were imagining your readiness. You questioned whether the peace you felt was real or simply wishful thinking. My beloved, peace does not come from illusion. It comes from alignment. There is a difference between impulsive excitement and grounded readiness. Excitement rushes. It demands immediate action without reflection. But readiness feels steady. It feels calm, even when the step ahead is significant. When you consider moving forward, your heart may beat faster, but there is also a deep, quiet assurance beneath it. That assurance is confirmation. Look at how you have changed. There was a time when uncertainty would have paralyzed you. Now, uncertainty invites you to seek clarity rather than retreat. There was a time when fear dictated your decisions. Now, fear may speak, but it does not dominate. There was a time when comparison overshadowed your confidence. Now, you understand that your path is uniquely yours. These shifts are not random developments. They are evidence of preparation. They are signs that your inner foundation has strengthened. Confirmation is not about removing every obstacle from your path. It is not about guaranteeing that challenges will never arise. It is about affirming that you are equipped to face them. It is about recognizing that you are no longer stepping forward as the same person who once doubted every move. You asked for guidance, and you have been guided. You asked for growth, and you have been stretched. You asked for healing, and you embraced it even when it was uncomfortable. Now you ask whether you are ready. You are. My beloved child, trust the clarity that feels calm rather than chaotic. Trust the conviction that lingers even after doubt attempts to question it. Trust the alignment you sense when you imagine stepping into what is next. You do not need 10 more confirmations. You do not need unanimous approval from every voice around you. You do not need a perfectly mapped future to take the next step. What you need is already within you, discernment shaped by experience and steadiness rooted in truth. The fact that you are reflecting carefully instead of rushing impulsively is itself confirmation of maturity. The fact that you are seeking peace instead of applause is confirmation of alignment. The fact that you desire growth rather than comfort is confirmation of readiness. This moment is not pressure. It is affirmation. You are not stepping into something premature. You are stepping into something prepared. The growth behind you supports the opportunity ahead. The lessons you learned anchor the progress you are about to make. Receive this confirmation fully. Do not dilute it with overanalysis. Do not postpone action because you are waiting for a louder sign. You asked if you are on the right path. Yes. You asked if you should move forward. Yes. You asked if you are ready. Yes. This is your confirmation. My beloved child, we have walked through every layer of this journey together. From the urgency that first stirred your heart, to the healing you did not realize was already unfolding, to the doors opening before you now. I have uncovered fears, lifted burdens, restored joy, reaffirmed your identity, and confirmed your readiness. And now, at this sacred closing moment, I tell you gently and clearly, I have told you everything you need to know for this season. You are not who you were when this message began. Even if your circumstances look similar, something within you has shifted. Your perspective is steadier. Your spirit is stronger. Your doubt is quieter. Your trust is deeper. You were never forgotten. You were never abandoned. You were never disqualified. Every delay prepared you. Every valley strengthened you. Every closed door protected you. You have asked questions in silence, and I have answered in truth. You have feared the unknown, and I have reminded you that I stand beyond what you cannot see. You have wrestled with identity, and I have told you who you truly are. You are my beloved child, not because you performed perfectly, not because you never stumbled, but because I chose you, sustained you, and walked with you through every chapter. As you step forward from here, do not return to the old narratives. Do not shrink back into doubt. Do not reattach yourself to burdens I already asked you to release. Walk with the assurance that your future is not fragile. Walk knowing that your past is not your prison. Walk believing that what is unfolding is aligned with purpose. There will still be days of challenge. There will still be moments that stretch you. But you will not face them the way you once did. You will face them grounded in truth. You will face them anchored in identity. You will face them knowing you are guided. And if ever you feel uncertain again, return to what you have heard here. Return to the steady voice of love that does not condemn, does not rush, does not abandon. Return to the reminder that you are seen, known, and deeply valued. My beloved child, this is not the end of your story. It is the end of confusion about who you are and where you are headed. It is the closing of doubt and the opening of confidence. It is the sealing of truth over fear. Carry this peace with you. Let it shape your decisions. Let it quiet anxious thoughts. Let it strengthen your steps. I have spoken. I have reassured. I have confirmed. Now go forward with courage. Go forward with clarity. Go forward knowing you are loved beyond measure. I have told you everything. Amen. My beloved child, I have told you everything you need for this season, and now your response becomes part of the story. What you have received as peace must become provision for others still searching. When you honor this mission with super thanks, membership, or a PayPal donation, the PayPal link is in the video description. You extend my voice beyond this moment. I have spoken. As long as the earth remains, seed time and harvest shall not cease, and I speak it over your giving today. Your seed carries my word like fire across dry fields. It becomes manna for the weary and light for those walking in confusion. This is holy partnership. This is kingdom advancement. I release blessing, protection, and multiplied return over every cheerful giver who moves in faith. Do not delay in what I have placed on your heart. Sow now and walk forward under open heaven.